We need your help. We need your subscriptions. Make sure you subscribe at www.youtube.ca/heavyhockey.
Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Oilers Live. My name is Michael, also known as Oilers Live. I've got my co-host, DashInThePark, and we're here to take you home tonight. It is during the Stanley Cup Finals, so we're going to be talking a lot of Oilers and Panthers talk tonight. Our show is live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Special thanks to Dustin Nielsen, Matt Iwanek, Tom Gazzola, Lieutenant Eric, the rest of the crew there at Edmonton Sports Talk. Let's make it count tonight, Dash. How you doing?
Well, I'm good. I guess I'm good. Bring energy, right? It's, you're stuck out there in Halifax, buddy, and that doesn't make you any less. But the collective feeling around the city, I would say, is a little odd right now, for sure. For anybody that's not familiar with our podcast, we are biased. This is a fan-based podcast, like Dusty is a Habs fan and Tommy dislikes the franchise, if I'm to put it some way. Eric's a Riders fan, Iwanek's a Yankees fan. Enough said. We're fans of this and we aren't neutral. And I feel all of this right now, man. Like being down 2-0 sucks. It sucks. So I don't know, like if you're the collective fan base for the Oilers, like, and you're a male bull right now, and it kind of feels like the tool's installed to be castrated and we're ready to go, like now's the time. And I don't know if the balls are going to drop off or if we're going to fight back, but ultimately, I guess, you know what, Michael, this is Oilers Live, not the Oprah Winfrey show. So nobody cares about my feelings.
It's funny. You started out with saying, not being in Edmonton, but I'll tell you, it's not easy being outside of Edmonton and being an Oilers fan right now when you're down 2-0. You got no shoulders to cry on because people don't care. In fact, well, they care about the game, but they don't want the Oilers to win. And so they're more than happy to push back and push my buttons and chirp me nonstop. And it is a daily occurrence outside of Edmonton. I watched game 2 in Toronto, and you couldn't find a more jubilant crowd when the Panthers scored. So, I get it. It'd be nice to have a couple of shoulders to cry on. It's good to see some Oilers, as I go on my travels, it's good to see some Oilers folks out and about. But it's also hard. It's hard to go about with that. We're going to add in Bob the Goalie, who's going to join us tonight to talk. Whoa! Dude, what's going on? What's going on? I clearly haven't seen you in a few weeks. Something growing up top there.
I'm going through my 80s TV cop phase right now.
Yeah, playoff stash. I love it. The playoff stash.
I was going with more like 2000s porn star than 80s or 90s cop, but
well,
yeah, something like
I
that.
have seen you recently, and that is a new mustache. I don't know what the hell's going
on. I would put star in quotation marks in porn stars.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
right. Fair. That mustache, hopefully it's like Connor McDavid's suit. It gets changed after the next loss. But welcome to the show, Bob, my friend Bob the Goalie.
Thanks for having me on, boys. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, well, good to have you. Let's let me start with a couple of just sort of news items before we go. I mean, the in practice today, Kane had a long talk with Knobloch before sitting out. Something like 5 minutes was what was reported before he went and sat down. Nurse didn't show, but the general gist of it is that both Perry and Nurse will be in the game. Kane, I haven't heard much. I assume he hasn't really skated much on off days, given the fact I think he's got a sports hernia. So there's that. There's a lot of quotes out there, of course. I mean, I don't know what the Stars are supposed to say. They're down, 2-0. They're not going to give up. But Connor McDavid, he's kind of said the whole playoffs is they've been down and out all year. Right, to paraphrase him, and in fact, that's pretty close to word for word. But they've got out of these situations. They have an opportunity to do that at home. They had what I found interesting though is they had Gleason in if Nurse was to sit out. I mean, it sounds like Gleason might be next in line there, and he didn't play much, but when he did, he looked half decent, right? But that would be a big challenge, of course, minutes wise, if Nurse was out. Outside of that, I mean, the Oilers are down 2-0, which we all know. Knobloch, has made a couple of changes, and we'll talk about those tonight. But there's still lots of work to be done, and as everybody says, it's not a series until you lose a home game. So next one tomorrow night's a big one.
Maybe the biggest one in 18 years anyways. There's no doubt about that. Maybe in 34 years. I don't know if there's been a more must-win game. Although if I put myself in a time machine and go back to 2006, we were down 3-1 in that series. So I think that was about as must-win as it comes. And while I bring that up, let's not forget that same Oilers team in 2006 went down 0-2.
Yep.
They came back, they won game 3 and then they lost game 4 and they made it to game 7. In fact, games 5 and 6 were potentially the most dominant they played in that entire playoffs. Game 6 for sure. We all know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
My point is we can get there.
Yeah, and you can't discount just how loud the fans are in Edmonton, right? Like, as you start talking and you start hearing people talk about, they said Vancouver was loud. Those same people now are saying Edmonton's like off the charts, right? Like
Yeah.
this is, I mean, you've been at the games. I remember the games in 2006, and in fact, we had LaRock on the show, and LaRock said the dressing room was shaking.
Yeah.
He said, it was adrenaline in your veins.
I mean, that might have been a testament to how Rexall was built as well. But
could be that. But I mean, it's going to be a nut house in there tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be crazy.
Bob was at game 6, so I'll let him talk about, because I wasn't there. I was at game 5, and I know when I was at game 5, that's the loudest I've ever heard that place ever. And I've been to 2 games in round 1, 2 games in round 2, and 1 game in round 3. And it's escalated and escalated and escalated. And I know in TV timeouts, they put the decibels up on the meter, and I don't know what it hit at game 6, Bob. You just saw, you can maybe tell us. But I think we hit 106 or 107 or something like that, in game 5 against Dallas. So, I think there's no doubt that the team's going to feed off of that energy. What do you think, Bob? What was it like at game 6?
Well, I feel like, so I went to game 3 in 2006 in Edmonton. So, and that was and that was nuts. I just remember standing the whole time and yelling. And by the time, after the game, we were going to go to White Avenue because that's where the party was happening that year, right now. And but we were in the car leaving the parking lot, and all of a sudden you just crashed because you've been hollering and standing and the whole time, and now I had no voice left and I was exhausted. Like, screw White Avenue, I want to go back to the hotel. Like, I'm done. And that atmosphere was the best I'd ever been in at that point. couple of years ago, I went to Game 7 of Edmonton LA there, that series, and McDavid had his huge moment there, and that place just blew up like I've never heard before. And then now Game 6 here against Dallas. Again, like I find all three of those were very comparable when it came to atmosphere. When I watch the game at home, like I'm pretty calm. Like I'm not calm, but like I'm pretty calm when I'm watching it. When you're in that atmosphere, like you can't be calm. Like you feed off that atmosphere. I was fortunate enough to be in our company box for the game, for Game 6 there. And when the Oilers scored their first goal, I jumped up, grabbed the chair beside me, like I was going to throw it across the box. Like what got into me? Like just that atmosphere was just absolutely insane. So I don't know. I have to give the edge to Game 6 just because it's the latest one I've been to, but I found all three of them to be very comparable when it comes to the excitement and the decibel level.
Bob the goalie looking for his inner Bobby Knight. Just start throwing chairs.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, this like watching in Florida. I mean, and I know it's on TV, so it's hard to get a complete, picture of it. But they try to make it sound loud, and it's still, it just doesn't compare, right? Like you can kind of sense that when you've watched Oilers games, you've watched Panthers games, you get a sense that the crowd is just not the same in Florida. And I think this team's in for a bit of a surprise when they get there. Like, and I think it makes a difference whether, I'm sure there are people out there that would say it doesn't. I think it's going to make a huge difference. I think the Oilers are in, they've got they got their backs up against the wall. We have yet to see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl go a long stretch without putting numbers on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think,
They're in one.
Yeah, this is the longest stretch, right? Like, I don't think Florida, like I think Florida's great. Don't get me wrong. They're a great team, but I don't think they're that great of a team that they're going to hold off McDavid and Draisaitl for a whole series. So, I expect, and even last night or the game before, night before, I mean, McDavid was moving, right? Like, he's a couple bounces away from a 3-4 goal night, or 6 assist kind of night. And if he keeps moving like that, right, like they're going to start going in. The PDO for Edmonton right now is like 8.75 or something like that through 2 games. Kind of gives you an idea of the type of puck luck they've had. Now, they didn't play, in my opinion, well enough to win last game, but they sure as hell got goalied in Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
And so, you're going to get, that's how you win series is your goalie's got to steal one. So Florida's done that, but now we're at home. The Oilers have a good chance to make something out of it. But I thought after Game 1, I thought we were in a good spot. Like I wasn't worried actually after Game 1.
Yeah, Game 2 was more worrisome than Game 1. But also they were anticipating Florida to play better, and they did. Like Florida legitimately just won Game 2. But the series could easily be 1-1, but it's not, and that's the reality of it. As for the Florida crowd, I am impressed that building is full, but the biggest difference right now, of course, I guarantee you they're probably pumping noise into it to make it sound, bigger than what it is. But you'll see that when the game starts or every period starts, it looks like the Florida fans are still practicing social distancing. There's empty seats everywhere to begin, and then it fills up, a couple of minutes in. Whereas in Edmonton, like this place is packed before puck drop. It's packed pretty much at warm up. Like when the game has started, there's nobody still coming in. They're already all there. I mean, we're all ready for this game. Like by 1:00 in the afternoon, we're ready for this game.
Yeah. I mean, and Dash alluded to it. I mean, I'm not in Edmonton, so I don't see it. But I remember 2006 on game day, like about an hour, before game day, it was a ghost town because people were trying to get to whatever, TV. I can imagine from what I've heard is that it's not much different this go around. Right. In fact, maybe it's even worse than that or better than that. I don't know how you put it, but But there's this feeling, right? Like there was this feeling going into this Stanley Cup final that the Oilers had a legit chance, and I still think they do.
Yeah.
But it's pretty exciting either way. Quaddy says, "Come on, boys, chin up. We're still playing in the goddamn Stanley Cup final," and he's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
This is great. I'm in as everybody is nowadays. I'm in a number of group chats. I'm in one that happens to have a lot of Flames fans, and the salty, jealous tears are great, right? Like they're great. Like I love the fact, we were talking about this. I get chirped all the time now, like after two games, but to me, that's just all the jealousy coming out because they actually believe the Oilers got a legit shot at this.
The 30 other fan bases, all their tears, they keep me hydrated at night.
That's right. keep that stash growing so beautifully.
No, but we're in that position, like you were saying, Michael. Like we're the last two teams standing. I mean, on paper, we shouldn't even be where we are after the start that we had. And I know that seems like ancient history at this point, but we can't be forgotten, where we've come from and where we are now. And we are still in this. Dash, you alluded to earlier, and I agree with you 100%. It's not a real series until the road team wins one. And in 2006, we did it. We put it to 7 games. And I dare say that we're a better team here in 24 than we were in 2006. I mean, Dwayne Rolson and Chris Pronger, but I think our offense is 10 times better than it was then, and just maybe even our overall team depth. So we have
97 and 29. That's it. I mean, that's why this team is better. 97 and 29.
How do you ever count out a team that has 97 and 29 on it? It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible to count them out.
You don't. You know what? Like this team has had to be slapped in the face or punched in the mouth in order to react for damn near a decade. This core group has had that in them. Whether it's the combined chemistry of McDavid and Draisaitl and Nurse and whatever it is with this core group, but it used to be scoring first, right? How many times we gave up the first goal, or especially on the first shot, or then it was. But all of a sudden, this team in the last year or two has really learned how to win, and they've learned how to win different ways, and they've learned how to put teams away in the third. I don't know what it's going to take. Like we had our backs up against the wall when it was 31st place in November. Mm-hmm. We had our backs up against the wall when we were down 3-2 to the Canucks. We had our back up against the wall when we were down 2-1 against the Stars and down 2-0 in Game 4. Mm-hmm. And in every single one of those instances, what did this goddamn team do? They got it done. So you know what? Their back's up against the biggest wall it's ever been against. Mm-hmm. And you know what? You need to, get barked at before you bite. You've never been barked at bigger than you have right now. So this is legacy. It's all on the line. It's not just Game 3, right? This is the Oilers' future. This is the dynamic duo's potential future. This is legacy. This is reputation next year. It means everything. If they can't do it now, I don't know. But I think they're going to do it. I really do. I bet a lot they win Game 3. I think.
There's not a lot of times where you get a shot at it, then you get a shot the next year. It's just that hard to get to the Stanley Cup final. So you got to do it when you do it, right? Like I don't believe the BS that Connor needs it to prove that he's the best, but at the same token, he wants it, right? And he knows, right? Like there's a lot of great players in the league that aren't in the Stanley Cup finals right now, mm-hmm. right? Because it's freaking hard to get there, right? Like it's the hardest cup to win in sports, right? It's the hardest trophy to win. And so if they don't do it now, You can't expect that they're going to be there next year. You don't know what's going on with the Draisaitl contract, right? Like, you don't know what's going to happen at the deadline next year. Draisaitl could be gone if this team doesn't make the finals this year and they're not doing great in the middle of the season next year, right? So, they've got to do it. And I think McDavid and I think Draisaitl, they definitely know that. They got to see, they got to see through all of that. And these next two games, yeah, you're right. It's the biggest two games. Tomorrow night's the biggest game, we've seen in some people's lifetimes, right? Like, it is, not many more years than I've been around, I guess, but,
Okay, there we go.
yeah, it's that big.
Yeah.
So guys, thoughts on the Oilers so far. I mean, I look at game one, right? We haven't been at this since last Wednesday. Game one, the Oilers came out flying, chanced Florida. Bobrovsky was outstanding, right? It's they even asked Knobloch at the end of the game, what are you going to do? Like, how do you coach this? And my opinion was you don't. You just say, you got to get them to go out and do the same thing. Now, probably there's a lot of things, Dash, we've talked about this before. Knobloch, what I love about him is, he makes decisions, right?
Got the brass cojones.
Yeah, exactly.
Ballsy
But
decision.
what I haven't really appreciated, like, if you go to Natural Stat Trick and you go on the series, they got the series down pat, and you look at the Panthers forward lines and you look at the Oilers forward lines on Natural Stat Trick, there are only 5 combinations that have done 2 or more faceoffs for the Panthers. And for the Oilers, there are 10. 10 combinations.
But they've been behind in games, Michael. I mean, you got to try and switch things up when you're chasing. I think that's linear to the fact that they haven't been ahead in a game.
Well, they were ahead in the game last game for a good portion of it, right? Yeah, I mean, for me, the challenge that I have there is, even in game one, it's not like they were getting the chances. They needed the bounces, right? Like, a game like that, you can play 60 minutes and a goalie can steal the game, but you can't play 120 minutes like that and the goalie's not going to steal the game, right? Like, Bob, I mean, you've been on a hot streak before. It only lasts so long, right? Like, before stuff just starts to go in and then the hot streak's gone.
Yeah, mine usually lasts about 6 minutes.
Yes.
Oh, we're talking about your sex life again. Great.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's my only challenge right now is maybe a little bit too much blender, right?
What's your concern there, Michael? What's your concern? Are you sensing a lack of chemistry with the team? Because I haven't really felt like their lines have been out of sync, no matter who they've been playing with.
Well, there's that, I guess.
I think they're also adjusting to injury.
They adjusted,
too, right? Well, they had to. They were forced to. 3 guys left the game. I think, like, when you're
right.
They've been put in a place, I think, where Knobloch's had to do that, in my opinion.
But I think that's fair. That's fair.
But I think you're onto something. And I'll tell you this: like, you take game one, and you replay that game 10 times.
Yeah.
The Oilers probably win 8 of them.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah.
But there was an adjustment made by Florida after the second period. The first and second period of game one resembled each other, whereas the third periods, you started to see Florida figure it out. Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did some research. I took some splits. Okay. Here's the first 2 periods of game one versus the 4 periods that came after, right? So the third period of game one added to all 3 periods of game 2. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So shots on goal, first 2 periods of game 1, 25-12 to the Oilers. Since then, 35-26 for the Panthers. Scoring chances, first 2 periods, 25-14 for the Oilers.
Yeah.
Since then, 27-17 for the Panthers. High danger scoring chances. This is a big one. 15-4 in the first 2 periods. 15 in the first 2 periods. 15-4. Since then, 13-3.
Oh boy.
For the Panthers. Right? And even saying that, that's dominant hockey. The Panthers came up with 13 high danger chances in 4 periods.
Mm-hmm.
The Oilers had 15 in the first 2. So I won't go into the Corsi and the Fenwick, but it kind of is relatively the same. There's a similar trend. What I thought was the interesting and the asterisks in all of this is when you look at goals for. Because if you look at the goals for the first 2 periods, 2.9 to 1.19. So relatively, that's about 3-1, right? So the Oilers should have won the first 2 periods of game 1, 3-1. Since then, it's not that it's not that heavily slated, 3.4 to 1.9 for the Panthers, right? So, if you add all those up, it's basically a 5-5 series, 5-5, 6-period game, and you talked about the PDO earlier too, Michael, right? So we got a 0.87 or whatever you said it was on the PDO, plus a expected goals for, of course I'm talking about, sorry, I should have said expected goals for, right? At a game that's about 5-5, actually 5-4 really for us. So
I think
you talked about Knobloch and I tell you all of this to say this. I think Knobloch's been outcoached the first 2 games.
Yeah,
I think that Panthers made adjustments after the second period, and the Oilers haven't adjusted since. Now, I'm not saying they won't, but that's how I see it now. Bob?
I think the most telling stat that you mentioned is the high danger scoring chances, how we only have 3 in the 4 periods after the first 2. So obviously, to your point there, Maurice has done something there to shut our guys down offensively when it comes to dangerous chances, right? So now it's kind of up to Knobloch's turn to figure out how to fire the boys up to get these chances again. Like, what do we do to change our offensive strategy as opposed to now we got to counter Florida's defensive strategy that they adjusted to after the first 2 periods.
Yeah, and I jump in before I let Michael comment on that because I want to say this to say that. I kind of baited you in there, right? Like I said, is this a systems thing? It's a coaching thing. But here's the question I really want to ask, and I'll throw it to Michael and then back to Bob. But is this the Oilers' inability to get to the net a systematic problem? Or is this a player problem with the willingness to get to the net and to the middle of the ice right now? Is this a systems problem? Is Knobloch getting out coached, Michael? Or does the team just need to work harder?
I would say the way that I look at it is this is some of it's definitely Knobloch being out coached, and it's his first trip to the dance. Like, this is it. I mean, Paul Maurice, like, you're not going to ask for a much better coach, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
and honestly, when you got a team like Florida and you got a good coach, it's going to be damn hard, right? Like, so the 2 things together, and it's, there's no easy road, right? Now, having said that, like, I just think this is a lot to do with, I know we love McDavid and we love Draisaitl and we love Bouchard, but let's not forget this is their first trip to the dance too, right? Like, and they just got out of a game. I think game 1 they played beautifully. They got goalied. It's going to happen, right? Like, and that's why you play 7 games, right? But they needed to come out in game 2 and give the same level, right? I think they gave the same effort. I don't want to think they ever, give a half-ass effort, to be fair. I think they go out, they give the same effort. I think what they did is they were clutching the stick. Like the power play. When's the last time they had a power play where they didn't get a shot on net? Right? Like these guys, they got, like not that's a coaching thing. Like Knobloch's got to go to them or a Coffee or a Gulletson or whoever and say, like, guys, shoot the effing puck. Right? Like this is not an effort thing. It's maybe too much effort, right? To get past Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's in their head at that point, right? Like they're trying to get the perfect play. And to me, that was the story of game 2 is you give this wonderful effort in game 1, you play everything right, you play the way that you know how to play, and game 2 you switch it up because you don't know how to beat Bobrovsky. And that's the whole, to me, that's where I kept saying, like I said after game 1, like if I'm Knobloch, I go to the team and I say, play the same way, come out and play the same game and you'll get the bounces, right? Like, don't change it up. There were a couple of those in game 1 that, could have went the other way, right? Like Bobrovsky was great, but on a couple of those breakaways, they didn't get the puck up high enough, right? You know what I mean? Lift the puck up a little bit more and you might beat them. I just think they needed to come out and play that same style, and they didn't do that. I thought that they were clutching the puck. They didn't, like, literally on the power play. How did they not get a shot?
So I completely disagree with you. Like,
okay,
completely disagree
that's fair.
with you. I don't think they changed how they played on the power play. I think they tried to do it the same way they always do it. And what Florida's doing on the PK is taking away what the Oilers can normally do on the power play. And here's why I say this, and I'll back it up. First things first, the entire power play of the Oilers is based on decision-making in the moment at that second, right? It's like James Harden when he goes and posts up, right? He can pick one of his 3 moves, and based on how you defend, he'll use the other one, and he's generally going to score on you. It's almost impossible to defend. The Oilers are like that. And on the power play, you go to Bushbaum or you go down to Draisaitl's office, or, McDavid takes it to the net and shoots himself, or, or they get it down low and Hyman bangs one of his 55 in, right? So there's a way that they can try to find success based on that instinct that they have, based on that hockey IQ that they have. I think Florida's taken that away with 2 things. Pressure, like hardcore pressure, to the point where they don't have the time to make that decision in the moment anymore. And the other way they've taken it away is an absolute clinic on active sticks. The biggest thing I've seen different about Florida than a lot of the other teams we faced or I watch on a regular basis in the Western Conference is this. Michael, how many times have you, even off air, how many times have you and I had conversations about how Draisaitl uses his stick? There's never a moment where his stick isn't doing something that benefits him or the other 5 players or inhibits the player. He's knocking sticks down in passing lanes. He's whatever it is. He's banging somebody off balance. All the players on the Panthers do this at all times. It's nuts. And it's not only like when Bob and I learned how to play hockey properly. I don't know if you ever have, Michael, but when we learned how to play hockey properly,
and that's a wrap.
You put sticks in lanes, right? You block lanes, you shut down shooting lanes, you don't give them an opportunity. What Florida's doing is very different. Florida's baiting them. They're baiting them. Go ahead. Go to Draisaitl back there. No. It's like a goalie, Bobby. Hey, you go, okay, sure, shoot at the glove. I know exactly what I'm going to do with this glove hand as soon as you go glove. You're baiting them. It's a mind game. And right now, the Floriders are winning that mind game on the penalty kill. I really think that that's what's happening. They've been so aggressive. And McDavid said it after game 1. one. Maybe it was after game 2, but he said this is a very unique penalty kill. We haven't seen anything quite like this.
Mhm.
Right? And the opposite side, and I highlighted a quote, right? These is the penalty kill are what I wrote it down here somewhere. Edmonton's 34 of their last 35, and Florida's 40 of their last 42. Let that soak in. That's an uncomfortable on purpose pause. 74 of 77. Can you tell them in sales? 74 of 77, 96+% penalty kill this team combined in their last 11 or 12 games or whatever it is. And who finally scores one is Florida last game. And this is what Rodriguez said about it. I think our mentality changed in the third, where we stopped treating the power play like it was a power play and started treating it like it was a 5-on-5. Rodriguez told the ABC broadcast. They came with a lot of pressure. And if you try to make a cute play, it's never going to work. So we changed our mindset to play fast. Act like it was 5-on-5. Because as soon as you get the puck, you've got a guy on you. So you have to be one step ahead. And I thought it got better in the third, and I think we got rewarded for it. And here's the thing. After saying that, the Panthers and the Oilers have the exact same penalty kill to me. They know what you're doing. They control the pace.
Let's be real. They scored one goal on the power play, right? So they haven't. It's not that they've figured it out yet. It was
no. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying they figured it out, but that's where they started to change it. Was in the third, and
they did.
When they scored a power play
goal they scored was very much like a 5-on-5 type of goal. Yeah, it was a rush to the net. Nothing fancy about it. Rush to the net and nice deflection.
I'm not worried about our PK. Like you mentioned, they scored one goal. I think you're bang on the money when it comes to Florida's PK, though, Dash. I also agree with you that I don't think the Oilers changed the way they played. And having said that, why would they at that point? I mean, they were the aggressor in game 1. That style of play has got them all the way to Stanley Cup Finals, right? And their power play is, historically good overall in the last, 3 to 4 years. Why would you change it? You only change it when it's necessary to change it. And look now, it's necessary to change it because Florida has figured it out with their active stick. They do a great job of congesting in front of the net as well. You can tell they've scouted the Oilers power play to a T. They are reading these passing lanes and stuff ahead in advance. Like Barkov and Ekblad in particular, the number of passes they have deflected away is just, that's a stat in itself. Is quite monumental. So now, there's a bit of out-coaching going on here. And like you mentioned, Michael, this is Knobloch's first time in the dance. Hell, it's his first time in the league. So this is a huge thing going on here. And Paul Maurice, in my mind, is the best coach in the NHL. So that in itself is a challenge. Agreed. But we have the guns to do it. So let's see what Knobloch has done. He's already has a pretty good track record for only having 60-some games in the NHL. So the ball's in our court.
What did you say about Maurice? Where's your Panthers jersey? Jeez.
I agree. No, I agree with Bob. I hate to keep doing it.
I'm just having fun.
He is the best coach in the league. He figured out a way to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl the last time he faced us in the playoffs, and that's when we got swept by the Jets.
So far.
But he's so far. That's right. Yeah. He's also the coach that's coached the most games in the NHL without winning a cup. So that's pretty ironic when you're looking at a rookie coach versus the Paul Maurice. It's like almost in a story in itself, right?
And don't forego the fact that Florida had the taste of it last year, and so that bitterness has got to be a hell of a motivating factor as well to be that close and not get there.
Yeah, I think there's only like 4 teams in the history of the NHL that have gone back-to-back finals and not won it the second time, like lost back-to-back finals. So once you get there once, you're generally getting a taste of it the second time.
So as much as we want to win the cup, and we're talking about legacy and all that stuff, as much as we want the cup, you can multiply that by 100 from what those guys are lacing up the skates wanted. So the fact that anybody's even questioning their want, their desire, their work ethic for it is ridiculous. This is the stuff they dream about. That the other team has a say in it. So Florida shuts you down. Like Draisaitl, to me, his last game here was probably his worst game in the playoffs. And it's not because he didn't want it. He got frustrated by what Florida was doing to him. So he wanted.
I love that though. Like for Draisaitl, like he comes out typically after games like that, and he's that much better. I remember the San Jose game where he he took some liberties with his stick there, after they lost. I was at that game, and that was in 2016, 2017. Was it 2016?
2017.
And he came back from that, and he was, one of the best players. Like Draisaitl, he needs to get fired up sometimes in these situations, and so I'm expecting a little bit more from him. And he started to at the end of the game, like that Barkov hit. It was a little bit over the line, right? Like it, and it's because he's starting to get into it, right? Like he's starting to get frustrated, and I'm all right with that.
I'm more than all right with that. And you know what? I've been in a few scraps in my life, and I'd much rather punch you in the mouth before you punch me in the mouth if I think we're fighting. And I'll tell you what's happened to Draisaitl in the last 2 playoffs. In 2022, he played on one goddamn leg against Calgary, thanks to Mikey Anderson. In 2023, he played with one arm, thanks to Alex Pietrangelo. So you know what? Punch first. I'd rather be talking about Draisaitl elbowing Barkov in the head and breaking his jaw than for the 3rd effing year in a row talking about Taychuk two-handed Draisaitl and took him out. And you know what? I'll take Pissy Leon every time. Every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some stranger says, screw their bitterness. The cup is still up for grabs. 100% agree. I mean, it's, this is it's still a series. Now, I might not be as happy if they came out of next game and they and they lost the game, but I also don't look at this series as being a runaway yet, right?
No.
Like Florida's won both games. They won them fair and square. Bettman had nothing to do with it. They won them fair and square. Bobrovsky was great in game 1, and the Panthers played a great game in game 2, right? Like I thought, that's how you win a championship, right? Your goalie wins 1 or 2, and you got to play good the other games. In fact, that's how the Oilers got to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Skinner won him a game.
Nobody's going to say that Dallas game was a blowout, right? Like
Skinner won him a game. That's right.
Right. And so, now now we're back in Edmonton. It's home game advantage. And you're playing against the 2 best players in the league, right? Like they're and you're playing against a guy that's super pissed off. The only thing I like, I disagree with you guys. Obviously, I think they changed the way that I think they were gripping their stick in game 2. I know what you guys are saying, but I disagree on that. But the one thing that the Oilers have done in game 1 and game 2 that they got to get out of their head, and I think it's just jitters of being in the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time, like that stuff, like the Bouchard giveaway there that leads to the game tying goal.
They're tired. They play him 5D.
He played over half the game.
Yeah, but it's just little mental mistakes, and tired is one thing, but at the same time, like you know where you're at, right? And so I just think that's just like it's some of it's mental fatigue from being in the finals, right? Like that excitement of being in the finals and the mental fatigue, like the first and second goal in game 1, right? Like you can get mad at Nurse all you want, but he doesn't miss that little chip in front of the net very often, right? Like, it's like that kind of thing to me is a jitter thing. Like it's, they'll get that out of their system. I think, it's 2 games in. We'll see what's going on, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like for sure, there's some mental fatigue, but I mean, at this point, I think both teams are going to be feeling that, just the stress of the playoffs. But we haven't seen Bouchard do that all playoffs.
No, he's been good. I would never blame him for, like, I just think it's it's a little bit of mental fatigue, and he was as pissed off as anybody, right? He knew what he did wrong, right? Like Bouchard's been one of our best defensive players in the playoffs, and it feels weird saying that, but he's been pretty damn good. right?
Leads the playoffs in goal differential for all
Yeah.
players. So, I mean, that says something, right? But speaking of mental fatigue, I think that's what happens, right? You're on the grind, you're traveling, you're playing hard, you're going hard, and that's what ends up happening. And you know what, Michael, I'm starting to kind of see it out of you tonight. You know, you've been traveling a lot, you've been on the road, you're starting to make mistakes and the mental fatigue. So I tell you what, I'm going to take this thing over. I'm going to let you,
Just throwing up
have a
mustard.
little bit of a back seat, do what I do, and inject myself and take this thing over. So why don't we take a break? And we'll come back after, and I got a few fun things planned. Okay.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. Bruce and the rest of the fantasy hockey hacks right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Mountain, or tune in at youtube.ca/heavy hockey and make sure you like and subscribe. Looking for a hockey fix? We've got editorials, fantasy hockey, monthly brackets, and more. Go to heavyhockey.com. Hey, it's Oilers Live Tuesdays, a regular 9 p.m. Mountain Time, now streamed live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, or tune in at youtube.ca/heavy hockey. Make sure you subscribe.
Oilerslive podcast.
Want hockey podcasts? Tough Call Podcast, 99 Forever Podcast, fantasy hockey hacks, and replays of Oilers Live. Available anywhere you get podcasts. Just search for Heavy Hockey Network or go to heavyhockey.com. That's right. We need your help. We need your subscriptions. Make sure you subscribe at www.youtube.ca/heavyhockey.
Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast.
Hey. Dash here, bringing you back from the break. Oilers Live. Maybe you're on your drive home. Maybe you work from home. Maybe you're just having supper with your family. Maybe you're in Halifax and your name is Josh Bolton and you run the Tough Call podcast, and you pull up out of nowhere. So look at that. I will get to you in a moment. All right. Well, here we are. Second half. Once again, thanks again to the Edmonton Sports Talks folks. Proud to be on Edmonton Sports Talk and a friend of Edmonton Sports Talk. Dusty, Maddie, Tommy, Eric, and all the boys. Really appreciate it. Since we got Josh here, I'm jumping straight to our segment, I think is the way I'm going to go it. And if you've been listening lately, we've done it 3 or 4 shows in a row. I know both of you have been listening, Bob and Josh, because you're always hot in the comments. So now you got your own shot at this. Mike, don't fall asleep, Michael. Wake up.
Hot in the comments. I mean, they're in the comments. They're in the comments.
They are coming in hot with their comments.
Okay, maybe that's better. Yeah.
All right. Is that better? All right. So let's do this. We're going to start right at it. Tell me I'm wrong. Call me an idiot. Whatever you want to do. Whatever we're going to call it.
You're wrong. This is easy.
You're an idiot.
Oh, this is like a Friday hanging out with Bob all of a sudden. All right. Okay, we're going to go in order. So Michael will start first on this one, then Josh on the next one, Bob on the next one. Keep going clockwise. And here we go. I'm going to make a statement, and you guys are going to either tell me that I am right or that I'm wrong or that you agree or that I'm an idiot or whatever you want. But I think we're going to start with this one and a big one. And this is my statement, and I believe this wholeheartedly. And I just about posted this in X or Twitter or whatever before the finals started, and I wish I would have because I've been right so far. That said, the only team capable of beating the Edmonton Oilers in these Stanley Cup playoffs and or finals is the Edmonton Oilers. Michael, tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. I mean, it's the Stanley Cup Finals. Guys show up; they're professionals. You get a coach like Maurice, in the Florida Panthers, and they're more than capable. But the Oilers, to me, are absolutely they've been the best team since Noel Luck's been behind the wheel. So, but we saw St. Louis do the same thing and win a Stanley Cup final. I don't know. I just think you're wrong. Any team can win if they get on a hot streak and when it hits the finals.
All right. You don't know. Great answer based on fact.
You're wrong. You're an idiot. Any team can win.
Josh, I think that we got the best two players in the world. We've been a wagon all year since November. We've been the best team in the second half. I don't know. I think the only team that can beat us is ourselves.
I would say, we are capable of beating ourselves, but the Oilers are capable of beating anybody, including themselves. That's for sure. If there was ever a team, in the top 10 of the league, a team's guilty of beating themselves on a regular basis, the Oilers have to be one of those teams. But I do agree with Michael. The Florida Panthers, as much as I hate to say it, are a really, really good hockey team. And as we saw, even when the Oilers have all cylinders going, they were able to be beaten in game one. I think we played a very, very solid game. I don't think we did anything wrong. And we still got beat. It is what it is. So I think I'm on the fence with your state. I think you're wrong that they're the only team that can beat themselves, but I think you're right in that it's valid to point out that they are guilty of regularly beating themselves.
Couple fence sitters, Bob. You got any brass cojones?
Oh man, it's all brass, and it's so brassy that I'm making it 3 for 3. You're wrong. I think same reasons as the other two gents said. I think you can use the same statement by saying then that the Panthers are the only team that can beat themselves then as well. I mean that's just the way it goes in sports. The Oilers, are capable of beating themselves, but as Josh said to game one, I thought we played a damn near perfect game and still lost. So the only thing we didn't do is score against Bobrovsky, and not for lack of trying, and we had some quality chances, but no, you're wrong. You're an idiot. All the above, whatever.
All right. I like it.
Brassy, Bobby, brassy. Covered in hot.
Oh, there's the cojones.
Just like the Oilers, I do my best work when my back's up against the wall. So that's called a professional segue, folks, because this team has needed to get slapped in the face, punched in the mouth for whatever reason. This core group has continually needed to have their backs up against the wall in order to perform their best. And in saying that, every time this team has faced adversity, they've thrived. Last place in November, what did they do? Undefeated for an entire calendar month and went on the longest winning streak a Canadian team's ever done in the history of the Hockey League.
As predicted by DashInThePark.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but I'm an idiot. Hey, the three of you. That's right. So down 3-2 against Vancouver, down 2-1 against Dallas, and then down 2-0 in game 4 against Dallas. So my statement is this. Josh, we got him right where we want him. Tell me I'm wrong.
I think you're absolutely right. For some reason, this team needs a slow start to get going. And I don't know what's slower a start than down 2-0. I think you're going to see what we're made of here. I think you're 100% right. Next question.
Whoa, man.
Okay, Bob, Michael, Josh says we skip right past you two, and I'm 100% on being agreed with. So I agree. So I also agree. No, I'm just kidding. Bob, what do you think?
I'm going to say you're wrong again, but I'll say it's because of one word. It's not right where we want them, but it might be right where we need them. So do we want to be down 2-0? I don't think so. We'd love to have a best. But do we need to be down 2-0 to get our best out of it? Yeah, maybe. So I think maybe we have them right where we need them.
Give that guy the hot takes, Mitt. Whew. Where are you
deep
on
stuff,
Thursdays?
Bob.
Where are you on Thursdays?
Oh man, give that guy a stash and look at what comes out.
Hey,
Oh man, jeez.
well, I like once again. Ron Jeremy, the goalie, disagrees. What do you say, Michael?
Yeah, I mean you're wrong. I mean, who wants to be down 2-0? Let's be honest here. I'm not gonna say any more. I mean, if I'd rather come out of it with a split. I'm disappointed we're down 2-0. Where backs are up against the wall. Hell yeah, the Oilers have played and shown that they need to be like. I always kind of wonder when they score the first goal if that's a mistake. But having said that, I mean, oh no, there's no way I want them down 2-0 going into the third game. The odds are against us. Can this team do it? Hell yeah. But no.
Okay, like Josh said, next question. Next question.
Next question.
All right, I need some agreements here, so I think I'm going to go to this one next. Okay, we talked about this, right? The Panthers have made adjustments after the second period of game one. We talked about some of those split stats. Did you hear any of those, Josh, when you were driving in?
I did not.
Okay, I'm going to go over them again quickly because I think
Just
there's
for the
some
record, you
fascinating
can
stuff.
listen on iHeartRadio or tune in.
I was
Put it in
coaching
your car.
softball. Coaching softball. Sorry.
Put it in your AirPod or whatever. Sorry, Dash. Go ahead. No,
That was
commitment.
important enough to interrupt me with?
No commitment.
Jeepers. All right, Josh. I thought that there was a considerable change in the way that Florida played after the second period of game one. There's a lot of people saying that game one was played one way and game two was played another way. I think this shift happened after the second period. And here's some stats to back it up. So hear me out. Okay. And you've been tuning in all along. You've heard this already, but that's okay because I think it's important. All right. First two periods of game one, shots were 25-12 for Edmonton. Since then, 35-26 for Florida. Scoring chances, 25-14 in the first two periods for Edmonton. Since then, 27-17 for Florida. Here's the big one. High danger scoring chances. In the first two periods, 15-4. 15-4 for the Oilers. Since then, 13-3 in the last four periods for Florida. Corsi and Fenwick look the same. Expected goals for first two periods, I'll round up and round down. It's roughly 3-1 for the Oilers. And the last four periods is 3.5-2 for the Panthers. Okay. So in saying all of that, my statement is this. I think that the Florida Panthers elevated and adjusted, and I don't feel like the Oilers have. So far, in this point in the series, we've been outcoached. Bob, tell me I'm wrong.
Oh.
Bob went into a comatose. He's now exercising the demons.
Nope,
I'm not
you're
sure
right.
what happened.
We did touch on that too, but again, like I mentioned previously,
Serious lag. Serious lag.
no,
in the audio.
no, you are right.
All right. We'll go to Michael, see if that internet improves a little bit because there was a lag there. But what do you think, Michael?
Mustache is creating some Wi-Fi interference there or something.
It is switching hard.
It's glitching. It might not even be a real mustache.
I heard the most important part, which was I was right. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it's whether you think he's the best coach in the league or not, he's damn good. You know, he's arguably up there. You can't argue that he's not one of the best coaches in the league. And Knobloch's a rookie. So it's not unexpected, but you're right.
Josh, we've been outcoached so far.
I'd have to agree. There's been some overall, I think the decisions have been pretty good. It's the ones he has to make in a split second in the moment, strategic wise, that I think has probably let him down a little bit. I think he's been not afraid to make the solid roster changes he needs to make, the gutsy goalie switches, anything to do with that sort of thing where he has time to think about it. But in the moment, I think he is maybe being a little bit outmatched right now. I'm not saying he's not capable of figuring things out, but I would say, yeah, he's being outcoached right now.
I do give him credit for the changes, right? I think we always would scream from our rooftop, Woodcroft, or even in the past, about, come on, like, make that tough decision. You all agree with me on that, so I think you'd all agree with me here too. Like, Knobloch's done that, right? He's put CC out, he's put McLeod out, he's had Ryan in and out, and here we are again with Kane. Right now, it sounds like Perry's coming in for Kane, unless there's some sort of mind games being played. But he was sent off practice after 5 minutes. He was -3 last game. He's -4 for the series. He had 0 shot attempts in the last game. 0 hits. He was in the penalty box. And he's sitting him down right when we need toughness. So let's hope that the decisions he's making and the adjustments that he's made in the last few days will erase the fact that he's been outcoached so far. And quite honestly, we're in the finals, baby. He's got us here. And I can only hope that he keeps it up. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this one up, because we've got Tough Call on, and I'm most interested in your opinion, but that's true in life, not just this question. Jason Strudwick.
You're wrong.
Second, Dash.
You're wrong. You are wrong.
I have not made my statement
yet. Are we
yet.
still playing the thing here? Or what?
Oh man, I wish I had the mute button right now. All right. Strudwick was adamant about this. So I'll pre-apologize for agreeing with him.
Oh man, is it just me, or was it sound like a train went through town there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear none of that.
I didn't hear that either.
All right, well, I did. So, all right, the knee on knee by Foegele had more intent to injure and was more predatory than the knee on knee hit by Bennett on Bouchard.
Strudwick said that?
Strudwick said it, and I agree. I feel like the way that Foegele blatantly stuck his leg out and had time to brace for impact means he knew exactly what he was doing. And I'm not saying that Bennett didn't know exactly what he was doing, but I'll maybe stop there. All right, we're back up to Michael, unfortunately, because I'd rather hear what Josh has to say. But I think that the hit by Foegele was more predatory and had more intent to injure. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I think you're wrong. And if I was going to go with somebody, I'd probably go with BX's opinion on that. It was I thought it was I think maybe it was worthy of just when I look at both of them, I think they were both equally bad, right? Like, we can't get pissed off about Fogel's. It was a penalty, but so was Bennett, right? Like, I just think you got to call them equally, right? And that's the challenge I have with that. Was it 2? I don't know. Maybe it was 5. Like, it's a knee, right? And it was, blatantly a knee. So I think maybe the Foegele call was right and the Bennett call was wrong.
Okay,
and so they're going to screw up once in a while. But that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and since you're interjecting, Bob, let's go straight to you, because I want to give Josh the last word on this one.
Well, first off, Josh nailed this on his show yesterday, which was being streamed there on Heavy Hockey as well. So I'm going to defer to him, because I guarantee you I'm going to agree with everything he says, because he was bang on yesterday. So take it away, Josh.
Okay. Boy, what if I had rethought it since last night? I looked at the tape, and you know what? No, it's guys, look, Foegele got a penalty for a knee. There's a reason for that. There's a knee. Bennett got a penalty for tripping. There's a reason for that too, because Foegele led with his knee and Bennett didn't. That's the bottom line. So, and because Foegele led so much with his knee, we're all agreeing it was a knee. It was a blatant knee. Do I agree that it was 100% predatory? I don't. I think he was turning in to make a body check, and he just kind of let it hang there. It's a natural position to turn that way. And when you make a tight turn, you have no choice but to lead with your knee. But his knee was going to lead first anyway, and people are going to blame Lustarin for trying to get out of the way. But his knee was leading first. There was going to be knee contact no matter what. Whereas in Bennett's case, his shoulder, his upper body was in line with his leg. His knee wasn't leading or stuck out. Everything was going to hit at the same time. When Bouchard tried to avoid it, the upper bodies missed each other and the legs had to collide. But they would not have collided like in Fogel's hit. They would not have collided if Bouchard had stayed put. So that's the difference. That's why he got a tripping penalty, which I think the officials nailed there. Tripping versus kneeing. That's the difference.
Follow-up question for Tough Call Podcast, Josh Bolton, also found on heavyhockey.com as well as on our YouTube page at Tough Call Podcast. The follow-up question is, do you feel that... Nope, you know what? I'm going to skip that one. That's okay. Let's go on to the next question. My next statement. All
Wrong.
right. Man, I wish I had
Carry on.
All
Carry
right.
on.
I agree.
Okay. So maybe this tells us something about Evan Bouchard's...
You knew you were going to be wrong. That's why you skipped it. I got it.
No, it's all right. I didn't want to get on a tangent. And
The latency is just great. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for your input. 30 seconds late. All right. So maybe this tells us something about Evan Bouchard's internal DNA. Maybe it just says something about the natural human instinct of fight or flight. But I know what I would do if I was in a rear naked choke in a hockey game on an ice surface. And it wouldn't be tapping out. So my statement is this. Evan Bouchard should have punched or elbowed Ekblad in the face instead of physically and literally tapping out. It's a hockey game. Punch him in the face. Tell me I'm wrong, Josh.
I mean, I would probably have fought a little harder to get out of the hold, but he was in a bit of a situation where he did not have the high ground, so to speak. So to turn around and, initiate or instigate an escalation of that situation may not have been a smart move, but I think that maybe there should have been more. How do I put this delicately? I don't know. There should have been more urgency in the situation, I think, rather than just politely saying, "Excuse me, sir, would you mind allowing oxygen to pass through my windpipe, please?" I think you maybe could have gone a little more over the top than that. Yes.
Exactly.
I think you're both wrong. Honestly, the way that he had him, and I've been taking Muay Thai for some time. He had him in the back, and he had him locked, and Bouchard's skates are face forward. Like there is no way to turn around there. Like his only option is to tap out. I actually think it's 100% garbage that they let Ekblad get away with that.
Oh, I'm not
on review. At the very least, fine the guy $5. Like they fined Carrick. Like he should have been fined. Like the lock is the part that I've got a problem with there. Holding a guy back is one thing, but putting him actually into like a headlock like that, where you got your arms locked like that, it's effing BS. To me, that's borderline suspension. And there's nothing that Bouchard could have done.
A nice hockey rink.
Yeah, and nothing Bouchard could have done though, other than tap out. Like just the way his skates and his angle, he had no leverage. Like there was nothing. It's like you said, Josh, is that there was higher ground there.
I don't know.
Garbage play.
Squirm,
that one
scream, do something other than just fall asleep like you're under the lock of
Yeah,
Buddhist Barber beefcake in a sleeper hold.
Have somebody put you in a locked position like that.
Oh, I've been in one.
Yeah, and there's just no way out.
I bounced for 4 years in Regina, for crying out loud. I've been in a few sleeper holds.
But
and you know what? Never once did I just go like this.
Add skates onto that, though.
Yeah, good. I'll kick him with my skate. Try and choke me out. I don't care if you get Muay Thai or not.
I think it's
easy, Happy Gilmore.
A little simple, but to say he could have done anything. Anyway, that's my
Next.
Maybe I'm
Bobby.
wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, Bobby. Tell me I'm
Well,
wrong.
that depends how delayed I am. You might not hear this till tomorrow, but
We're
I
used
think
to it from
Bouchard
you.
was in a really awkward position there. And if you watch it again, it's almost like Ekblad was holding him up by the throat. Like Bouchard just stumbles a couple of times, and Ekblad's holding him up by under his chin. How do you react in that situation? I don't know. I think I try to do more than just tap, but really, it was such a unexpected thing that I think that's one of those things you don't know how you're going to react till it happens to you. But it did look a little passive to go, like Todd was saying, yeah, excuse me, can you just release me so I can breathe? I'd probably be a bit more aggressive than that, but how? I don't know.
I mean, it made Bouchard's eyes go crossed. Did you not see that? Just kidding. Bad joke. Bad joke.
The league definitely should have looked at it. I know. That is the big issue with.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I talked about this last night. We're discussing somebody who was in a chokehold in a hockey game. We should not be discussing that, but we are. Here we are, and now, yeah, I just can't believe they didn't single that out and take a look at it. And how hard is it to find somebody?
A headlock is one thing, but an actual chokehold
Like
that,
a rear
to me,
naked
is
choke.
BS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like his feet are dangling like he's in a noose, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But Jeff Crest on the chat. Bouchard needs to stand up for himself, soft as butter. Ragai in. My problem is that Bouch needs to just accept it. He didn't fight at all when he was first grabbed. And that's what I agree with. That's the point right there. All right. That was a fun one. I got a little heated. As it should have. I guess. What do we have for time here? 6:11. All right. Nurse, how many minutes did he play last game? I didn't check. Somebody might have to stat me on that one. I don't know. It felt like 4 minutes, but clearly he was gutting it out. Clearly there was something incredibly laboring. He's had hip problems before. It looked like it was the hip area again. Boy, oh boy, this is weird to say. I'm not even sure I agree with my own statement. When it was Woodcroft's game to play 11-7 and try to protect the forwards and the D a little bit here. But I'm telling you right now, if we go down to 5D again in game 3, I don't like our chances even a little bit. So my statement is this: for the first time all year, Knobloch should go 11-7 for game 3. Michael?
God, I want to agree with you on something tonight.
Oh,
8-11-7. Like I liked it when at first, and then I kind of bored of it a little bit. I don't know. I mean, to answer your question, Nurse played 16:08 in the game. You're not wrong that the Oilers are in trouble if they're playing 5D. And love them or hate them, the Oilers are in trouble if Nurse is not in the lineup, right? Like the guy plays a lot of minutes. Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do? 11-7 is not the worst. And, you're in such a bind right now that you need your top lines to be out there more often than not. And you know how it is. You're going to, when you go 11-7, you play McDavid extra. It depends on what Nurse is like. If Nurse is sort of 50-50, all right, you're right.
I mean he's playing
11-7. Yeah,
it's
crazy.
Crazy, right?
I hate 11.
I hate it too.
Yeah, I liked it the first time Woodcroft did it. I was like, this is cool. You get to play, McDavid or Draisaitl double time, but man, I don't.
He was a little bit in necessity on that because of his cap restrictions and what he was forced to do with the ice, the team he could ice. But that said, he did get good at it. I would say for a time being, anyways.
Yeah.
He also got fired. So, Josh, we should go 11-7. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh boy. 11-7 as a long-term plan. I don't think I agree with it for the Oilers roster. I know other teams do it though. Like Colorado's done it quite a bit, and there's other teams that do it as a staple of what they do. For the Oilers, I don't think it works. I think you're right. If we keep too many different people out of the lineup regularly, it's just going to fall apart. However, one or two times to mix it up, I think basically it almost had to be done anyway, because where's our bottom six at? Where are we getting any scoring from? We're not accomplishing anything the way things are going right now. So a major shakeup was in order anyway. And he's certainly, like we said, more than willing to take guys in and out of the lineup. And one of the things I didn't like was how quickly he went to a panic situation where he overloaded the ice time of McDavid and Draisaitl and put them together super early in games. Game 2 especially, he went super early and he pulled his goalie early and all that. If you're going to do that as your panic button anyway, press the panic button before puck drop and just let everyone know that's how it's going to be. The one thing he can't do if you're going to go 11-7 is use the forwards just to top up and fill around the ice time with the top guys. You need to have everybody engaged and have a plan for how you're going to double shift those guys to keep them fresh. It shouldn't be that you just get as much ice time as you want, however you want, and we'll just fill people in. They should be playing, 29, 30 to 35 shifts, but they should be only 35, 40 seconds in and out, sneak them on for face-offs, that sort of thing. They shouldn't just stay on the ice till whenever. So as long as you manage that situation right, as far as right now may be the best time ever to have to do that, because you need a major shakeup anyway.
Yeah, and that's why I bring it up. Absolutely, well said. So Bob, Josh says you don't poke the panic button, you just smash it as hard as you can with both hands. And that's going 11-7 tonight. Tell us all that we're wrong. Oh, Bob in the latency again.
He's answering right now. Like he's talking about.
That's a great one. Best thing he's ever said. And now we have to ignore it. All right, let's move on. Sorry, Bob.
We're about to get his answer.
Well, I don't think it's called. I wouldn't call it panic. I think it'd be no.
Yeah, he's cutting in and out. Damn it.
Oh,
all right, we'll have to move on. Sorry, Bob. I'm sure that was epic. All right. So, all right. I need something a little positive here. I'm going to go a bit off the board and what we've been doing. And who the hell had this on their bingo card? But right now, my statement is that Broberg is the D-man that I trust second most in the defensive end after Ekblad right now. Everybody loves a Swede. Michael, tell me I'm wrong.
No, I think like Ekholm you meant instead of Ekblad.
Oh, yeah, Ekholm. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still think you trust Bouchard the most. But there's a lot being asked of him.
I trust think Evan Bouchard the most in our defensive end, like out of all of our defensemen.
more than Broberg. But okay. I think, I think like given the fact that Broberg,
you just said, I think we have to trust Bouchard the most. So I'm just clarifying.
No, I meant like more. I meant more than okay. Broberg.
Totally.
But given the fact, like, Broberg plays limited minutes compared to Bouchard, right? Like, yeah. Do I trust the minutes that he plays? 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like, I trust when Broberg's out there, but if you put him out for the same amount of time that you put Bouchard and Ekblad out, I probably would stop trusting him as much. Right? Like that's
Ekblad now too. Ekholm. Yeah.
Or now you got me doing it.
I got you. We couldn't have made that any more confusing, Josh. Why don't you clean that all up for us?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I'll say it again. Ekblad shouldn't be playing the next game anyway. Ekholm should. So that's right. That's right. Do I trust Broberg second most? I think Michael said it in a good way. For the minutes Broberg is out there, I trust him 100%. If he had to play the minutes that other guys were playing that we're comparing him to, would I trust him as much as I do in their shoes? Probably not. So, you take that for what it is. I think the ceiling for the players that are in the the places that Broberg isn't right now, the ceiling for those players is higher than what Broberg's would be if he was put in those situations today. Maybe 2 seasons from now, that's not the case, but I would have to play my horses in places and trust that they're going to do the job for a game that I need them to, more than moving Broberg up.
Okay, I like that. One more, and it's only because this is my pet peeve, and so I'm just feeding my own anxiety and anger here. But
Can't
I'm
wait
really
for this one.
sick and tired of the we hit the post narrative. We hit 3 posts. Lottie freaking da. We hit 3 posts because you know what? I don't give a crap whether a puck hits the posts or whether they miss the net 3 feet wide. It's not a shot on net. It's not within the 4x6 netting that you need a puck to be in. My statement is this. Saying, oh, we could have won or we should have had more goals because we hit the post twice or 3 times is an absolutely loser mentality. Josh, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I can tell you this: when I come home and tell people how I did in my hockey games, I don't say I hit the post 4 times, happy about it. Like I don't say, yeah, great job, Josh. I feel like garbage, and I count that as a miss. I should have done better. I'm not saying I deserve to win that game. I'm saying I should have scored and I didn't. That's the way you need to look at it. Well, I'm a carpenter. We cut boards all the time, and people are out a 1/4 inch, and I always tell them, if you're out a 1/4 inch, you might as well be out a mile because the board's just as useless to me, a 1/4 inch short. Like you said, it's not even a short shot on net. Like, and oftentimes we always say he beat the goalie, but not the post. I don't agree with that. I think more often than not, it's because the goalie didn't give you enough to shoot at, and you were forced to hit the post. So,
Bingo.
you know, it's just because we hit the post. That's not to say that there was the possibility that would have gone in if they'd have shot it an inch the other way. So, you know, we can't be happy with that. You got to score. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's loser mentality, but it's, you know, you deserve the outcome that you get in every game, right? You know, the Oilers got goalied, but it's a team game. The goalie beat you, right? Like, you know, somebody beat you. Maybe it wasn't the rest of the Panthers, but Bobrovsky beat you in game 1, and that was fair and square. Like if you can't beat him, you don't win the game, right? You know, if you can't, you know, put the puck, you know, a couple inches down and to the right, and not off the net, off the post, then you don't win the game, right? So, yeah, I don't, you know, loser mentality. I don't know, but I always have a hard time saying, you know, we deserved that game because you didn't. You didn't deserve it. You didn't win, right? You didn't do all the things you needed to do to win the game.
Yeah,
and the Oilers haven't yet. They deserve to be down 2-0. Could the result have been different? Hell yeah, it could have been different. You know, they could have got some better bounces, but they didn't. And they are where they are. Now move on.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of loser mentality, I also think the same is about blaming the refs. And there's a reason that I didn't talk about referees once this entire show. It's a hard game to officiate, and I'm sure they're doing their best. Now, last game, I thought that maybe it wasn't managed that well. I felt like every borderline decision went Florida's way. You know, in hockey, you can't call them all, but you try to balance things out a little bit. So, I mean, that's all I'm going to say about that. You guys can jump in if you want, but ultimately, save it for when we go around the horn. 7 minutes to go, maybe 6. We'll keep a tight ship here. I guess we'll go a couple minutes each. Let's just talk about how we think game 3 is going to go, what you think the Oilers need to do, maybe a prediction if you want. And after that, we'll wrap it up. Let's go with Michael.
Yeah, so I'm going to touch on the ref thing because I hated the fact that we didn't get the calls, right? Yeah. I hated it. But you know, as I'll say every single time, like that's not why you didn't win the game, right? If you couldn't score, you're not going to win the game. Doesn't matter if you had 10 power plays or you had 1. If you don't score, and we know the Oilers had a power play, they didn't get a shot on net, right? So, you know, the Oilers deserve 100% to be where they're at. Are they capable of winning this series still? Hell yeah. Right? Like they're going home. You know, it's loudest building in the league by a mile, right? We've got the 2 best players in the league by a mile. There's going to be some touch-ups, right? And injuries, no big deal. Every team plays injured, right? This team, they've come back from a whole lot worse. They came back from being last in the league, and they got to where they're at. So, yeah, I think what I do think they need to do, though, is win one of these games outright. Like, I think they need to win one of them where there's no shadow of a doubt, right? Like a 5-1 kind of game, right? Make Florida realize who they came to play against. And I'd really love to see. Yeah, I don't think Skinner's played bad, but I'd love to see him really shut the door one game, right? Just for his confidence. But outside of that, I mean, the Oilers came out. They had a great first game. They got goalied and didn't win. That's going to happen. Their second game, they weren't the worst team. It wasn't the worst game we've watched them play. I mean, we've seen them play a hell of a lot worse than that. And they were up 1-0 for a while. So, I'm happy with this team. I'm happy with the effort. I think they, it's going to be a different story though. Come tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm a homer. I'm a fan. I love the team. I'll be cheering loud tomorrow night. I'm sure the neighbors will call in a few noise complaints.
Yeah, you know what? I think you said a few things there that I want to just touch on, and it's you're right. It's, we need to do what they just did to us. You said we need to go out and win one 5-1. Well, they just beat us 4-1. And we need to goalie them, right? Skinner needs to steal one, and we need to make a statement. No doubt about it. I think we also need to score early and often. The Panthers in the third period are like absolutely unreal. 13-4-2 in the regular season when they were tied after 2, where the Oilers are 0-5, well tied after 2 in the playoffs. Panthers is when tied or 8-0 in the playoffs after 2, when they're leading, they're 5-1 or something like that. Like it's nuts. I do think that we got them right where we want them, Whale Country. We're going to win these next 2 games, and game 3 for sure. We got 2 to 3 minutes left, and I'm going to give all of them to Josh from the @Tough Call Pod. Say goodbye at the end, my friend.
All right. So yeah, the officiating, we've had enough power plays. We've had our chances to do our damage on the power play. We haven't. I think that's going to be important to score on our first 1 or 2 power plays at home. Get a little mojo back there. I think that would be something to just boost everybody. In general, we always say, well, now Edmonton has to win 4 of 5 or whatever, they're done. That seems unlikely. But every team that ever wins a series wins 4 of 5, 4 of 6. It doesn't go 7 very often. Why are we so sure Florida can beat Edmonton 4 of 5 or 4 of 6, and we're not so sure Edmonton can win 4 of 5 to come back in this series? There's no reason to believe that they can't do that. I'm not at all worried about that, as long as they come back and play their game the way they're supposed to. It's every bit as reasonable to assume they're going to win 4 or 5 as it is that Florida will win 4 or 5 and win the series. So I'm not worried about that. I do feel like they need to up the ante. Of course, they need to pick their socks up and push the envelope a little bit. Whereas, I don't know, I have no stats to back this up. I would like now to look back and see when puck drop was in game 1 and the end of the game versus puck drop of game 2 and end of game. It felt like game 1 flew by, and it felt like game 2 took 2 days to play. I think we want to have those track meets. We want to have those quick games, push the pace of the game a little bit, and make them keep up with our best players. And I think that's when we're going to see the calls go our way and the bounces go our way, because we're actually going to deserve them if we do that. And that's pretty much all I'll say. Game 3, I'm going to predict sort of an 80s style, maybe 6-4, 7-5 kind of game. But I think it's going to be one of those ones where it's like 7-2, and then they just get a couple token goals at the end to sort of end the game. And I think we're going to feel pretty good about the game. It's going to be a fun one. Good night.
Oilerslive